No grand unveiling.
Evolution, not revolution. No need for ceremony.
I see that you've cancelled the consultants' routine conference.
Are they an ineffective talking shop?
Rather short notice.
Why meet unless there's an agenda?
Oh, I don't know. Perhaps to explain how you intend to balance the books this year?
A drip feed of a complex strategy is not appropriate.
We need some candor. It's a simple question. How do you plan to save money? Which departments are going to be affected?
Everything's on the table at the moment.
Just talk to us, Henry. Don't make this any harder than it needs to be.
I will not be press-ganged. Not by you. Not by anyone.
You know I charge a tenner per tick.
And we wonder why we're performing averagely in training.
I was only joking, Mr. Hanssen. It's only a fiver.
One way to generate income, I suppose. Nurse McKee, welcome to the ward. What delights have you brought with you? Non-specific abdominal pain. How interesting.
It's a funny one, though.
How so?
Oh, she's downplaying the pain, wants to go home, usual stuff.
Mr. Malik?
Waiting on bloods. Abdomen's tender. Possible causes, cecal tumour, diverticulitis, Crohn's, as well as pelvic disease.
Throw everything at it.
First rule, rule out nothing.
Is that what they taught at St. Ignatius?
They kicked your Cambridge butt on University Challenge.
Hannah Shaw, may I?
Are you?
Henrik Hanssen?
Sorry.
Yes, appendicitis. Let's book a slot as soon as we can, please.
Well, obviously she's playing a game.
I don't know, I just thought I'd flag it up.
Look, I know police, OK? I used to live with one. They don't like to get the blame.
Are we certain that blame needs to be apportioned?
Or they fried a 16-year-old.
It's not illegal.
Doesn't make it right, though.
It's not really our call, though, is it? He's not even on your ward.
Look, I'm just trying to finish what I started.
You seem to have a slightly negative view of our friends in the emergency services.
Like I said, I used to live with one.
That interesting insight aside, I suggest we follow the disclosure of information protocol. Have they accused this Mr. McMahon of a serious crime?
No, they're holding back.
And he's not a current threat? At this point, we're not obliged to tell them anything. We don't want to prejudice their internal investigation, and if you sense that they're trying to do that...
No, not sense. She basically asked me.
Therefore, we should proceed with caution until the situation becomes clear. Mr. Douglas, will you cascade this strategy?
Yep.
What did you see on the ECG?
Delta wave was abnormal.
Ask Miss Shah to take a look at it. She wrote a piece for the BMJ on the delta wave.
I know that.
But I guess she's not so eager to be hanging out on AAU recently. Her and Luke are like...
Fire signs. I'll try the ladies.
Dr. Petrenko, how's your portfolio coming along?
Very well, thank you.
Seems to have been left rather to the last minute. Not ideal.
Henrik, we're on for lunch. See you at 1.
Lunch?
I told your PA that you'd insisted. I don't want to be underhand.
Then don't be.
Look, we need to sit down face to face and talk about any plans in an open and transparent way.
Believe me when I say at the moment everything's under review.
And you're surprised when we say that we find it hard...
Who's we, Mr. Griffin? Who is this we?
I've taken the liberty of inviting 1 or 2 other clinical leads to join us for lunch.
How delightful.
Even you can't stonewall all of us.
Hannah Shaw. White blood count's normal. Bit unusual for appendicitis, huh?
I would expect them to be raised, yes.
Immunocompromised. So my money's on with child.
You see a possibility.
So hope is gynae. He's going to love that.
Big mistake to underestimate him.
What's he doing on the ward anyway? Shouldn't he be kissing babies and making speeches or whatever?
You think so?
Right, rundown of the situation, please. Go.
We're waiting on the interogram and ultrasound, but the pain is increasing.
It's not increasing.
I surmise that you're medical students, first years.
Yes. How did you know?
You're top. In which case I will forgive your glaring error in not beginning with the patient history.
Of course. Sure.
Well, come on, St. Vincent's. You've buzzed, so you must answer.
No history of these symptoms, have you, baby?
Not really. Sorry.
And what about the family history?
Unknown, because she was adopted.
It's not a secret. Nothing is with Tommy.
You think that's relevant? Psychosomatic? Because of the abandonment?
No.
Tommy.
Sorry.
Why do you think it's not your appendix?
Because I do. Sorry. Is the sister around? I'd rather talk to a woman.
All right.
Is it gynecological?
Nurse McKee?
Vanished in a puff of smoke.
Well, ring her on her mobile, please, and ask her to return immediately to talk to Hannah Shaw.
Already done it. Shall I cancel the appendectomy slot?
No, it's definitely her appendix. In fact, bring the slot forward, please.
OK, thank you. Message from maintenance. There's been an explosion on AAU. The whole ward's been plunged into darkness. Or something like that, but don't worry, Eddie's there.
Right, I'll go down there.
What's the fax?
GP notes for Hannah Shaw. She did say she wanted them kept confidential. I was going to wait for Nurse McKee.
She's getting worse.
Evidently. Hannah, I have your notes. Would you let me look at them?
Yes. Okay, yes. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
All right. Fluids and page anaesthetics. It's peritonitis.
What?
Burst appendix.
Yeah, I know where it is, mate.
Right, clear theatre and tell Nurse McKee she's missed her opportunity to speak to her patient.
Sorry, power cut. We're re-triaging in the south wing. It's a tiny ward, not ideal, but are you happy with that?
Excellent plan B. Pity you couldn't be in two places at once, though.
I know, I got sucked in.
Yes, I did query it when HR said you wanted to escape the hurly-burly. Nurse Lane did contact you, didn't she?
Yeah, I thought... doesn't matter. What did I miss?
The obvious. The question's why. What's the diagnostic golden rule?
Look at the history.
No, Occam's razor. The simplest answer is usually correct.
OK, well, stable WBCs, unusual. Go look at other options.
Think laterally. She's immunocompromised, not pregnant.
No. Transplant?
Look, if you know, why don't you just tell us?
Because then how would you ever learn for yourself? Ah, Mr. Griffin, I'm afraid I have to cancel lunch. I'm showing Mr. Malik an appendectomy.
Oh, come on, man. I've done like 30 of those.
But this one has a twist.
Reckon this is why she applied for medicine.
We all have our reasons.
You're not going to ditch the connection with the uni, are you?
That's Mr. Griffin speculating.
Can you blame him? Leave a void, it gets filled.
Let's just say it's an obvious target for restructuring. It's expensive, it's time-consuming, and occasionally our commitment to it is somewhat lackadaisical. So we cut back, we focus on our strengths.
Oh, screw the next generation.
Not a moral issue, it's just we're not attracting high flyers, not even local ones.
That'll change when they have to live at home because of the fees. Look, I just don't see the point in ditching the one bit we all like. Even you seem to enjoy it.
Look, I have said time and time again, it's all under review, and I will not be pushed into premature disclosure.
Ah, Mr. Griffin sent an all-staffer. Apparently you're addressing a meeting at 5:15.
Excuse me?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were do not disturb, come tsunami or fracas on the ward.
I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing this for Oliver, so he doesn't make complete idiots out of us all with his bonkers results.
And?
They're not that bonkers, actually, but only because I checked, and I'm not going to tell him that.
Alpha brackets minus?
Alpha brackets minus / beta ++.
One can always tell a St. Bartholomew's alumnus.
Yes, grind them down until they do it your way. Never did me any harm.
Like the inspirational pedagogue.
What's the point in learning it all if you can't pass it on in a really harsh way?
May I take this?
Plus, I'm not charging you extra for my one-on-one tutorial, so basically, me sitting here is making you money.
Oh, the ECG on Mr. McMahon?
Oh, yes, definitely an undetected WPW.
You have to tell St. Vincent's.
Well, the short answer is it depends on how responsibly you take your condition.
I don't take risks. This was a one-off. Please, I don't want to be shunted off to be a GP or a psych just yet.
General practice can be very interesting.
Sitting around listening to people's problems. You'd do it, would you?
How are you managing the transmission issues?
Easy. Abstinence. Well, not easy. You're not going to tell him, are you?
No.
Maybe that a lack of transparency could backfire.
And at least if you tell him, you will be in charge of it.
Yes. It gives you back the initiative before it becomes a crisis. Sensitively handled, well done.
See? She's a big softie, really. Just like Mr. Malik.
You seem to have found yourself a fan.
Not really. Look, I completely messed everything up today. It was me who referred it as an abdo pain, not Mr. Hemingway. He saw that it was an appendix right away. I just thought there was more to it than that.
In which case you were both right and make an excellent team. Perhaps you should go back down there.
Well, hands-on is more my kind of thing.
Well, I'll telephone Mr. Hemingway, see if he'll take you back. Miss Shah?
Has he woken up? Tell her I'll be right over. You're Mr. Hanssen, aren't you?
Trained in observation, I see.
I just want to give you the heads up. I'm really sorry, but I've made a formal complaint against the staff and the care here.
Ah, preemptive strike.
The treatment's been chaotic.
The treatment, I'm sure, was beyond reproach, which is more than can be said for your duplicitous attempt to extract confidential patient information.
I'm not having people's careers ruined by other people's...
Officers' careers or yours?
All of us. I train these guys. If they mess up, I do. I don't ditch them at the first sign of trouble.
Well, fortunately for us, you and him, he'll make a full recovery. Though, obviously, he'll be subject to more tests and support for the congenital problem.
Birth defect. Could that have been set off by drugs, or...?
Well, let's wait for the tox screen, shall we? That's one version. Rather more plausible to my way of thinking than you blaming my ward sister.
But the impact of tasering is more or less negligible.
Not negligible, impossible to prove.
Well, it's all down to the inquiry, then. I'll refer it. Always best to be transparent.
Especially when you know it'll go your way. Double the intake, entice foreign fees, strengthen the affiliation to the university, focus on the Socratic method of teaching.
Socratic as in dialogue, question and answer. Well, that's very interesting, coming from somebody who's actively avoided any kind of discussion all day.
It is a valuable teaching instrument in medicine, but it is not one I would advocate for the running of a large institution, or indeed a ward, which requires strong, decisive leadership. Wouldn't you agree?
And why this goal? It's not the easiest to achieve.
Revenue streams, league tables, usual managerial claptrap.
And, of course, the chance to mould young minds in your own image.